So, Francis, your role obviously being the SVP of Addressable, you're really at the precipice of a lot of change, right? That's been happening for probably a decade or more now. What do you think are the largest opportunities? Like, what gets you excited about what's happening specifically in the addressable programmatic space at the moment?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things. What I see as like being the most exciting is I think a lot of our clients are now like I've said this the whole time that I've been in the pharma space, where all of our clients really want to innovate, and they are just as innovation hungry as I think any of the other verticals are. So pharma has always sort of had a bad rap when it comes to being able to innovate at speed, and a lot of the reasons for that has been that there's HIPAA compliance that you have to worry about. It takes a lot longer to get to market for a lot of things in the pharma space. We're seeing that be cut down a lot year over year. And I honestly think that we've kind of caught up to the rest of the verticals. So the fact that innovation is now as real in pharma as it is for other verticals, speed of execution, speed to market is really improving. A lot more has moved over to programmatic and to addressable in general. So when our pharma clients are talking about omnichannel, for example, it feels much more tangible. And we're actually going to market with audience solutions, with channel mixes, with measurement methodologies that are taking all of those addressable channels into account. And the clients that are doing that the best that we work with are those that are looking at it from both a short-term perspective and a long-term perspective. So whether it's a measurement framework for just one campaign for 1 year, what's more powerful are the clients that are asking us like, how do we already start to think about what 2027 looks like? Right. How do we get each other to the place we want to be by 2030? And how do we put like a roadmap with various checkpoints in place? So that's what excites me is the prospect of long-term development, like hand in hand with the client.
And obviously there's a tremendous amount of change technologically happening of AI, especially in programmatic, where it feels like AI and programmatic are kind of two peas in a pod in some ways. Do you find there's a difference in the outcomes that you're seeing, or at least just the ability for a client to adapt with all these changes? Like what's the quote, the best laid plans are the ones that, I don't know, like it's always good to have like plans until you get punched in the face. Do you feel like that's happening right now?
I do. It's a really exciting time to be in the market, I think, where there are so many different AI solutions entering the space. And I think a lot of clients, a lot of agency, people as well, we're all kind of figuring out how we define AI. It's in various different ways we bucket it. And, like you mentioning the AI and programmatic going hand in hand, like we've been using AI all the time in programmatic, right? So it's a very broad terminology, but I think it's kind of like what I was talking about before about the longer term plans. We have a responsibility with our clients to make sure that we are vetting the ecosystem as thoroughly as we can. We are factoring in all of these AI technologies and AI partners and the way that our existing partners are leveraging AI into the way that we're evaluating deeper partnerships, kind of looking for new ideas to bring to clients. So just something that we have to be on top of, but with a little bit more rigor, I guess. But exciting to kind of get a couple of those tested up and running and figuring out what actually sticks.
Yeah, what we see is AI is causing compression in the time it takes to actually deliver value, right? Whether it used to take weeks to get some insight about a patient population or provider population, that can now happen in seconds, right? So it's interesting, and I guess going to kind of measurement and outcomes and how do you define success, or how your clients are defining success. It'll be interesting to see how that the speed of which the value chain is now spinning in terms of actually producing these campaigns, and then the iterative nature of how campaigns can learn. You get insights, you can adapt and change. It does feel like the clients who are most willing to lean into being malleable, adaptive, kind of over time iterative, seems to be kind of what, at least from our perspective, what separates good outcomes from poorer outcomes or baseline outcomes. Does that resonate with you at all? It's like a speed of iteration.
Yeah, 100%. And like even just for internal processes we have, like so mentioning again the way that we vet the ecosystem, the way that we're doing RFIs, the way that we are trying to find more holistic performance trends. Like those are the sort of areas where we're seeing like the speed to actual results. It's cutting down on a lot of more manual work that we used to do.
The drudgery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So time is just so valuable
Totally.
in everything that we do, and whether it's from an optimization perspective of being able to optimize to more realistic outcomes quicker than when I was a more hands-on trader, or cutting down the amount of time it takes to figure out some plans that might make sense, partners that are fitting what clients are looking for. It's exciting for people on my team and for people like me especially as well, where we can focus on the stuff that matters, and we can have those real conversations with clients that are more focused on what that long-term growth and like actual outcomes look like, instead of going back and forth on like the specifics of a plan that were more manual before. So again, I kind of think it's the potential is just the potential is kind of limitless there.
It's almost opening up more brain matter, more brain space, and more time to think about how do you actually deliver outcomes, instead of the drudgery of like going through running Excel docs, right? Like going through pulling together reporting, less like overhead and time being spent on the menial tasks and more time being creative. That's
exactly.
Kind of
And I think the point gets hammered home over and over again, where I do understand the sort of trepidation around AI in terms of some of the stuff it's replacing, but the need for that human oversight and the human touch, again, it's like you take care of the more manual tasks, and then you need someone to be able to still understand the clients and add that human touch. So it's just kind of just amplifying what we're able to do.
I know you're touching on it now, but do you see that being the long-term trajectory of agentic AI? And I know there's solutions out there, and I think even some being launched here, different partners in the ecosystem kind of all bring their agentic flavor to it. I guess when you boil it all down, where do you see the value? Where do you predict the value to be most realized?
Yeah, I think one of the things we're trying to figure out at Omnicom is the balance of building and buying, so to speak. So a lot of key partners will be able to license what they're building, work with partners like yourselves in terms of what you're creating within DSPs, and or some of the products that we're building on our own. I think co-development is going to be a really big factor in the future for agentic AI, making sure the way that we work with partners like yourselves again, but pulling in Omnicom specific needs and wants, what our clients are trying to get from us, because I think another thing that gets overlooked in pharma a lot is, although pharma is its own thing, each of the clients within that vertical are also so specific in what they're looking for, and the need for customizable solutions across the board. So that's kind of the mix of how we're going to approach it. I see so much value long term for even basic things like MLR approvals, right? And just sort of aspects of the business that we all took for granted would always take forever or be like this really arduous process. It's going to be cut down to fractions of the time. So I do think that's where the future is, and it's just going to, again, kind of cut down on the speed to market for a lot of these things.
100%. And I love what you're talking about with partnerships and co-building, because I've been a huge believer and advocate that what we're talking about is we're bringing together different parts of the kind of value chain that never really spoke about before, or never spoke to each other before. And there's just such an opportunity to integrate all these things together to make it more insightful, more impactful, kind of use data to drive change up and down the value chain. So creative can be better informed of this. The planning teams can be better informed. I think the centralization and of intelligence, if you will, and insights can actually be, coming. I use an idea of a feedback loop that can kind of constantly inform every interaction you have with a patient and provider. Can actually go to inform how you do something better, right? And that flywheel should actually improve the way we build creative, or how we plan in the future, or activate, or the publishers that we're working with, how we work with those publishers to create those engagements. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so big on talking about how siloed everything in the industry is, right? Both from, and especially operationally, I think we see a lot of clients, agencies, everybody within our world, there's the sort of different departments, different different teams don't talk to each other the way that they should, and it's not because they don't want to. We all understand that HCP and DTC teams should be kind of operating on the same wavelength. That creative should be speaking to targeting and measurement a little bit more holistically and cohesively than it is. it's just always been fragmented and it's been difficult. So being able to bring all of that together, extremely powerful.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is that what you would say is the most exciting thing in the future here for us
Absolutely.
moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I if you ever ask me what my sort of like pie in the sky wish for the future of pharma programmatic would be, is I don't know if that's maybe a little bit controversial, but I do very much believe in a future where I would love to see channelless budgets, HCP versus DTC, like budgets not be separated, kind of maybe brand budgets not be so much within portfolios, and being able to have much more sophisticated ways of pulling all of that together, from inception to execution to measurement readouts, makes that at least a possibility, and at least gets us closer to kind of operating as smoothly as we need to drive actual like results that the clients are after.
I think the future you're describing is 100% where we're going to go, right? As an industry, because we have to, because the technology is going to push us that way. And I think the the expectations of our audiences on what a good ad experience is or how they want to engage with these brands is going to push us in a more converged fashion that takes down all these artifacts of like historical legacy ways of how we would buy. It just totally renders them just not useful, right?
Absolutely.
And like completely irrelevant for where the world is going. So I love what you're saying, and I think that is the long-term direction for the industry, is that, and I think a lot of it is going to be powered by the data that proves, and the flywheel effect that shows when you do the things that you're talking about, you are getting better performance. And I guess to close, like when you think about how do you kind of bridge from where we are now to where we want to take our customers going forward, what do you see your role in that process of getting our clients to kind of look to the future, right? And like, how do you get them over to the other side and the greener pastures of what's ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really an openness to like testing emerging technologies and like really building all of that into their overall frameworks. I mentioned before that historically it can be a little bit difficult to try brand new things within our industry, and I think we're at such an inflection point right now where there's all this opportunity with all these different types of technologies coming out, different ways of thinking and approaching buying, and there are a lot of other factors that are making it difficult to embrace that, right? And like factors out of anyone's control, like the state of the economy right now, just kind of different shuffles within the industry. But I would challenge clients to make sure that they are being very intentional with the way that they are thinking about how they test all of these new technologies, kind of, again, short-term and long-term, building them into AI-specific roadmaps, for example, having genuine test and learn frameworks, and learning over time. I think something that happens a lot within the overall ad tech space is you kind of do what you're supposed to do for a year or for a quarter or whatever, and you get your learnings from it, and then you sort of softly restart the following year or the following campaign. And it really should be something that is building over time and learning, like, consistently to get more and more sophisticated. Like, this is not, this future that we're talking about that we both think is going to happen is not something that's going to happen overnight. But it's also not going to happen unless we are intentionally driving for it, year over year.
Feels like we must now become evangelists of where we think the world is going to evolve to. And I'll tell you, the work that we've done together over the past several years, almost feels like a decade now, it only sets the baseline, the foundation for what partnership should look like going forward. So on that note, Francis, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great conversation. I really appreciate the work that we've done together, and I'm excited for the future of our industry.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Great.